I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. He has made some of the best cats memes on the internet that are frequently sent to me, but he also, in 2010 and 2011, was a swing on the U.S. National Tour 5 of Cats. So welcome, Kevin Zach, and thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Excited to have you because the amount of times I get sent when you post anybody going up to the Heaviside Lair or any parody headline or anything cats related, I always see them and I love them because they're amazing. You produce really great, high quality photoshops of these, and they get sent to me so fast and so frequently that I love it. But it sounds like you have some history with cats.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. And I mean, I do have history with cats. I did the tour, like you said, in 2010, 2011. And I was basically directly out of college. I did it. So it was sort of thrust into a world. I didn't really know cats well before doing it. I had, as a kid, seen like the VHS and was obsessed that Mr. Mistopheles could shoot electricity out of his fingers, which I was disappointed with didn't happen in the live show. And then I was never I was a Phantom of the Opera kid. So that was like my Andrew Lloyd Webber niche. But then when I was in college, there was a senior when I was a freshman named Bethany Moore, who is incredible actor, singer, dancer, went on to do like the Pippin revival, things like that. And she booked this same tour right after she graduated. And everyone was like, oh my God, Bethany Moore is doing Cats. And so when I was able to book it after my senior year, I was like, I'm the new Bethany Moore, which was the stupidest way to think about things in the world, because I got on the road and it was, I would say, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. It was tough. Yeah.
So this is first thing right out of school.
Well, the weird part is I went to University at Buffalo, and the fall of 2009, I had taken the megabus to New York and auditioned for Cats and got through all rounds of callbacks and didn't get it. And then I was I could leave school early because I had finished all my credits, but I decided to apply for an internship at the Ellen show, and I got it. So the last semester of my senior year of college, I spent on the Warner Brothers lot interning for Ellen DeGeneres. And then that was season 7 of her talk show, and that season wrapped. And then I got a call from Cats to join the next leg of the tour. So I moved from LA to New York City and started rehearsals September 2010. And I really sometimes think that they pulled the wrong headshot when they cast me. Really, I sometimes think, I think it was like, I don't know if they were just out of people on Earth, but sometimes I look back, I'm like, I don't think I was good enough to do Cats, but I did it. And I was a swing, and being a swing on a non-equity tour is kind of like being a traveling mascot that people spit on a lot. So it was an interesting experience, Mike.
Tell me more about that. Traveling mascot that people spit on. What?
Well, I think there's we were all so young on that tour, right? Because generally with non-equity tours, you get a lot of kids straight out of theater school. And we're all sort of cosplaying as older people. Like our Grisabella was 26. Our Gus was 24. So our old Deuteronomy was 22. So none of us should have been doing this show. None of us had the life experience behind us, even if we were talented. But you think, you get the role and you're like, I'm on a national tour, and to the audiences across America, they have no idea this is the inflatable set tour. You know, they have no idea that we're being paid less than $500 a week. And none of us had the knowledge that it could get better and you could get treated better on First National equity tours and Broadway shows and things like that. So there were some people that were very big for their britches when they got cast. And God, I can't believe I'm diving right into the trauma part of this. But we had 9 swings and we were always on. First show, first preview, I was on as Monkus Trap. And I was just thrown out of the thing. And then it was probably 2 months before there was a show that was just the playing company. Mm-hmm. And that night, the swing booth was just off stage left. And the swing booth is where all 9 swings would, when they weren't on, would sing the show. So that it sounded full on stage. And the show finished and we were taking off our headphones. And one of the cats came in front of the swing booth and loudly said, "God, it's so good to finally have just the playing company on stage."
Oh, wow.
In front of the 9 swings who had been saving the show for the past 2 months and playing several different roles in split tracks. And we were all just kind of like, oh, so that's what we're just not part of the cast. And so it was it got dark. That's an aggressive comment for right away. Yeah. It's interesting to hear you say the whole that you the non-equity tour and just in general how that's kind of you're grinding. You didn't realize it could be better, because I've always wondered. It feels like a lot of different types of careers and jobs. You kind of almost have to put your time and effort in. In sports, you play on the single A baseball before you make it to the majors, and you're on a bus and barely being paid and really, really tough life. And in corporate, you got to get the coffees and kind of do some of the low level work. But it's the most extreme version of that, because you're doing it on stage. You're going on constantly having injuries. You're doing 2 or 3 cities in a week at times. And again, don't know any better that it's going to get better. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like you said, we played San Francisco for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we would have a string of 21 nighters where you do the show, you get up at 5 a.m. and your broken body would be sitting on a cheap bus driving 10 hours into another show. And you don't know that this is there. First of all, the producers are making enough money where it doesn't have to be like this, right? Cats would sell out everywhere. They could pay us a living wage. It could be an equity tour. They could give us proper health insurance. But of course, we didn't really know any better. At least I didn't. That, cats used to sit down in cities for 6 months to a year at times, and people would be making thousands of dollars per week and be able to afford homes and lives and things like that. I remember when we played San Francisco, we all went to this piano bar afterwards, and I talked to the pianist there, and he was this nice older man and sounds like he'd been playing there for years. And he's like, "Oh, what show are you guys here with?" I'm like, "Cats." He's like, "Oh, how long are you in town?" I was like, 2 weeks. He's like, "Last time it was here for 6 months." Wow. We were like, "No, okay. Well, we're here for 2 weeks." And I thought that was luxurious.
Better than the one night.
Better than the one night. Yeah, it was we were all looking forward to San Francisco. But yeah, it was like college on a bus, because everybody was hooking up with each other. I mean, there were 2 guys who were dating the cast that would literally hook up on the floor of the bus on a 10-hour ride. When people were trying to sleep, they would be on the floor on top of each other like a sandwich. And it was wild.
It almost feels like a traveling summer camp. You're the counselors at the summer camp and you're all hooking up. You're all, you're not sleeping. You're doing this crazy thing.
Yeah, it's a wet, hot American non-equity tour. That's what it was.
I love that. That's that is fitting, considering that they do some of their musical theater there. I want to go back though a little bit, because I do think being I know you write, you do a lot of writing, and did you at that time, were you thinking about how do you write the story of your characters that you swung for? Because I do think there's such little development for some of these characters. And as a swing, you're just going on trying to not be injured and be in the right spot and, get through the show. But did you think through and be like, all right, here's how I am going to play Monkus Trap. Here's how I'm going to play Skimbleshanks. And here's their deep story.
I thought of things like, we were given analogies like Rum Tum Tugger's like the Mick Jagger of cats, and things like that. So there were like attitudes to play. The only one I think I thought about was Skimbleshanks, and as he's like the gay uncle cat that nobody listens to, is perpetually single. I never went too deep, but now that you say that, like I have a faint memory of in rehearsals of our director being like, fill out the backstory of your cat. And I have a faint memory of maybe doing that. I'd be interested to see if I wrote things down, because I'm sure it reads like a serial killer if I did. But my favorite though was Monkus Trap. I loved playing Monkus Trap. He felt regal and very opposite of what I thought I would be playing in my career. Like Skimbleshanks and Tugger are right in the pocket for me. Monkus Trap it's so controlled and so mature and so dignified. And when I went on for him for the first preview, it was almost like a religious experience. Like it just felt so cool to do that role, because he starts the show, and as soon as he says, "Are you blind when you're born?" the show doesn't stop. That's this. I don't know if you spoke with Jeffrey Denman.
No, not yet.
He was the final Monkus Trap on Broadway.
Okay.
And he wrote a book about, I forgot what it was called, but it was about closing Cats on Broadway. And then he opened the original cast of the producers. And it was about that journey. And he was talking about, because he was Monkus Trap, and he was talking about the last show of Cats. He's like, as soon as Monkus Trap opens his mouth for "Are you blind when you're born?" that'll be the last show, and he controls when it starts and when it heads towards its finishing forever on Broadway. So I thought about that because I had read his book before I started the tour, and I thought about that moment when I went on for our first show that year. I was like, oh my God, I'm kicking off the tour with this line. So it was a cool moment for like a 21-year-old. Went to state school, and I, was thrown on last minute to like save the show. And then, I started at a really high point on tour, right? And then you go there, and you go from there, and then you realize, oh, the other boys also cover Monkus Trap, so you're not always going on for Monkus Trap. So it's like, it almost felt like, oh, my character's taken away from me, even though it was never mine to begin with. So it's like, it's the heartbreak of not being chosen every time to go on. It's like we face our own Heaviside lair every day, being like, who gets to go on for the role,
Did you like to play did you like playing Monk over the other characters, or did you really like the mixture of being able to go on for different cats throughout the week?
I liked playing Monkus Trap. I liked playing Tugger, and Tugger was the one I went on for most. I was on for him for like a full month at one point, it was very, very fun. But in terms of like a challenge as an actor, as much as it's cats, like Monk has so much more of a story in the show. So much more to play. He's got a relationship with Demeter. He's got a relationship with Old Deuteronomy. He's got a something stronger to play with Tugger than Tugger does with Monk, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed, and I didn't get to go on a lot for him, but I enjoyed having the opportunity to have multiple dynamics to play throughout his story in the show. And Tugger's was a fun night on stage, but he's just kind of a rock star jerk that womanizer, that kind of thing, which was so fun. We played Ottawa, and I was on for Tugger that whole week, and there's a point where he goes into the audience, and there was a bachelorette party in the front row, and the bride to be, I remember her sash, she walked down the steps to the front row. She pushed me against the edge of the stage and started grinding up on me during that. And all I could say to her was, "Hey, that's what I'm supposed to do to you." And then I left.
Yeah. Wow. That is audience interaction. You never know what you're going to get, especially on tour. It's can be bad on Broadway, but it's even more wild on tour. That is, I'm sure they pre-gamed Cats because that's probably needed at times. And they leaned in. Did you play the Mistopheles Tugger relationship when you were on?
Yes. I think I did. I mean, I'm with Will. I'm not a fan of Mr. Mistopheles, but that shouldn't have informed what I was doing on stage. But yeah, are you talking about like the fan fiction relationship?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That they're together.
That they're together. No, I don't think I played that up too hard. I played more the Bomb Ballerina relationship of it all, and that McCavity was taking my girlfriend. But I know we definitely would read the fan fiction on the bus of the Tugger Mistopheles, like romantic novels and sexual escapades.
It is most of the fan fiction that I found online is around that storyline being aggressively together. And I remember when I did one of the first episodes where I was doing like explaining the characters, I had avoided reading it because I was like, I don't really want to dig too deep in this because it's going to be too much for me. And I was like, all right, for this episode, I'm going to go read. And I found like a book, not just like fan fiction, like chapters, like 20 plus chapters, thousands of words. And I remember kind of like skimming through it being like, I'm not, let's see kind of just the arc of what they're going to do in this book. And I just remember it ended up with Grisabella not being the Jokel choice. And I'm like, oh, this is my book. Like, this is here for me. But it was chapters in fan fiction.
Oh my God.
And that was one of thousands I found.
I mean, the Cats super fandom is wild. And as you probably know, goes so deep. And we had so many Cats super fans come and in their own homemade costumes, sitting front row, waiting to meet us at the stage door. And it's, that kind of fandom exists for every musical. But for Cats, it's obviously like the costuming part makes it makes it that just, more special, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot because there's the story part of it where, because there's so many different personality types, usually you can relate to somebody. And then there's the actual dressing up. If you are into cosplay, like there's a whole group of cosplayers who some of them don't even really care that much about the story or the musical. They just really like the cosplaying of it. And then there's the artists. And there are some incredible Cats artists, some graphic, some very wholesome, and everything in between those two ends of the spectrum. That are just, again, like it's a really visual vehicle for them to be able to put their spin on it. So it's been really cool to see all the different parts of the fandom beyond mine, which is like purely the storytelling of a musical with very loose storytelling.
It's incredible. And it's also like, it's incredible because I was a swing on whatever tour of the inflatable set non-equity. And it's like, but there are still people till this day, especially with my Instagram, that will tag me in some sort of Cats art. And I'm like, wow, the fandom goes deep. And you're right, the artistry of a lot of them, it's incredible. And I'm like, you're using your incredible drawing skills to have like Tugger and Mistopheles hook up. And I'm like, go and get it. I love it. Do it.
That is a perfect description of it. Is like, you have this incredible talent and you're choosing to use it on this relationship. And that's
right.
Great. It's great. I want to go back to your Instagram here in a minute, but I want to ask you, do you remember any other crazy non-bachelorette party Tugger in the crowd experiences?
Oh, I had a woman. So the Tugger's dance belt is padded to make his junk look extra big, which you may have heard from another Tugger out there, but like it's specifically a stuffed dance belt, so it looks like an extra big cat dick. And I definitely had an older woman grab it when I put my leg on the arm of her chair, and she just grabbed it like it was like a selection of fruit in the produce section, so there was that.
It seems slightly problematic.
Yeah, but I mean, again, 21 non-equity tour, there's no HR, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
And also I was like thrilled to have that story to tell backstage afterwards. I also know that like the boots that we wore, the Tugger boots, were like the Tugger boots they've had for 20 years beforehand. And the reason I was on for a month straight is that those boots that had been like, they were basically ash by the time my tour got to them. Our Tugger had to go home for a month because of the shin splints that those boots caused him.
Wow.
And because he had to do a lot of jumping off of stuff and he got shin splints and had to go home. And I'm like, it's because of these boots that are basically made of cheese at this point. But in terms of like we used to do Tugger drops. Have you heard of this?
No.
Before? So during the Tugger playoff, so you finish the number and then there's like 3 more counts of 8 of music as like a wrap up to the Tugger section. And they would do Tugger drops, which is we would give everyone that was in that sort of dance party moment with Tugger after his song, which was mainly the kittens.
Mm-hmm.
Would there be a theme like jungle cats or robot cats or secret agent cats or something? And you'd have to act like a ninja or a robot or a jungle cat during these 3 counts of 8. But what we wouldn't tell one person, and it would change every night, is on this count, you hit the deck. So on like count 6 of the first count of 8, everyone would be doing this, and then everyone would drop to the deck, leaving one person up doing the robot by themselves. Or like one person up pretending to be a ninja. So they looked completely insane by themselves. There was a lot of games that we played in Cats. I mean, there was Mafia. Oh, have you spoken with John Tracy Egan?
No.
Do you? He was an old Deuteronomy in the proper tour in the 90s, and he's Broadway star since then. But he did it, and I think either he did it with Liz Callaway or he did it on Broadway with Liz Callaway. And this could be a myth or a fable, but we would play Mafia sometimes in the show, and it would be like someone got picked to be the Mafia and would slowly kill every cat all show. And John Tracy was like, there was one show where nobody was dying. Why isn't anybody dying? And they got to the Heaviside Lair, and Grisabella is going up on the tire, and she just machine guns every cat beneath her. And so everyone is pretending to be shot, and they realize that because Grisabella's barely on stage, the only time she could kill people was right before she died, which is insane. Yeah, you should, if you have the time, I'll connect you to John Tracy, because he's got some incredible stories from the 90s tours. And he also did it in Germany.
Yeah. I've always wondered how, like, what are those different games you're all playing where it's not changing anything, but keeping it fresh and interesting, because you're doing this 8 times a week in all these different cities and on tour. You have to almost have something. And I know that when I went to the tour, back when I filmed with the tour, the most recent one, like I gave them not a game, but like, let me give you just a slight tweak of a character or personality or something to like go bring on stage that night. And it was super fun. It was cool to hear, like, did it work? Did it not work? And, but Mafia is a super fun one, because you just pick one person. I love the drops too. Just don't tell anyone. That's like basically every TikTok trend right now is just one person not knowing that you're doing something else and tricking them into the dance.
Oh, yeah. And then with Cats, the way it's staged, or at least the way it was staged when I did it, is that, you go here, you do this choreography, you do this, you sing this. But there's all the in-between time of when you're getting to that spot. And all of that is sort of just Felinity improv, basically. So there was so much room to basically fuck around. And because you are playing a cat, there was kind of nothing off limits. Yeah, because you're playing a feral animal that licks itself and shits in the middle of nowhere and pees in the middle of nowhere and is horny and things like that. So it's like, I bet so much stuff happened on that tour on stage that would get anybody fired within a second nowadays. I mean, we would do through Topsy-Turvy Thursdays, where you threw in as many pirouettes as possible into the show. Like, even if you weren't supposed to do one, you would just start doing turns. So yeah, there was games on games on games, and a lot of the times it was the swings who came up with them because they would be the ones watching the monitor and could keep score of who did the most turns and whatnot. So yeah, it would get pretty wild, especially on your 30th one nighter. You just gotta find a way to get through it because your body is like frozen, calcified from the bus ride, and you still have to do like a 20-minute Jellicle ball after the bus ride. After and then you're like in a city where there's no food anywhere, so you're eating your 35th Subway sandwich of the month, and then you go back to some ratty hotel afterwards and get up and get on the bus. I got our bus driver. His name was Lance Boudreau, and he was from Louisiana. I wonder if he's alive. Who knows?
No, good. I want to ask you with your games, was there two questions on this? One, was there anyone that ever went too far and they were like, no, don't do that again? And also, was there ever a time where someone was like, oh, I caught you all playing Mafia, or I noticed this thing at the stage door where they kind of picked up on it?
Oh, no, I don't think anyone at the stage door ever said that. I don't think anyone ever got like admonished for going too far by our stage manager, our stage manager was an emotional terrorist too. So it's like, I did not trust this person, and this person kind of terrorized the swings and would play like mind games with us about who got to go on.
Ooh.
It was pretty. And like another swing I knew, Tori Trowbridge, who's she's been on Broadway, she's been on TV ever since, and like the most supremely talented person was just absolutely treated like garbage by management. And it was a wild thing to navigate, where you're like, oh my God, and looking back on it, they were playing mind games with us about who would get to go on for what role. And because there were so many swings and we all covered everything, it was almost like, if you pleased the gods would favor you, sort of thing, as opposed to like, let's just take turns. We all got hired because we're all talented. We wouldn't be here otherwise. So no one trusted our management. And we went through like 4 company managers, and the last one we had was just the worst at her job, and apparently still works. And I just don't understand how. But I won't name names now. If we were out at a bar recording this, I'd list all the names.
Well, we will we'll chat after and not out them on the podcast.
I mean, if they're listening to this now, they know who they are. But
yeah, if they are listening to this now, then they still have some Cats fandom in them, and so I think they're still deep. I think my biggest takeaway from this conversation is that there needs to be an HR department for the tours, for all the things, both internal within the cast, internal with the stage managers, and then for the audience, because I don't think having you getting groped is probably a good thing to happen anymore. But those are the times that we lived through in 2010, when it was a little bit more free for all.
It was, especially with no union to protect you. Our old Deuteronomy got fired in the middle of the night. He did the show. The next day he was gone, and there was no explanation, nothing. He was just gone. And we were on the precipice. Like, people had just started getting iPhones. There was no Instagram, things like that. So there was no like extra ways of communicating or trying to get help or being like, hey, I was mistreated and fired for no reason. Like, there was no way to get extra help back then. We were all and we were playing so many cities that had no cell phone service. Ogdensburg, New York, Arkansas City, Kansas, which is spelled Arkansas, but because it's in Kansas, they're like, it's pronounced Arkansas. The tiny, we played Cheyenne, Wyoming, which did not feel safe. Bellingham, Washington, which was a really cute Pacific coastal town. But like, again, it was incredible that these old theaters existed around the country. And like Will Porter said in his episode, some of them were in fact middle schools. And then we'd go play the Orpheum in San Francisco, and you're like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. Or we'd go play Honolulu, or we'd play Houston, or Orlando or something, and you're like, oh, there are real cities on touring shows sometimes, but you just didn't know what you didn't have.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a cool piece of being able to like tour the country. You get to like at that age get a very eye-opening version and vision of everything that you could see in the United States. But then at the same time, it's like you're doing the most low budget version of that. So it's like not luxurious. And so it's like, oh, it'd be fun. Like I traveled a lot for work in my previous job and in this job. And one of the versions was pretty low expense. Like it was get a cheap hotel and stay under this type of budget. But I was in these cool cities. And so it's like really fun to do that at a young age. But at the same time, I'm staying at the Hampton Inn that it does not, that I like need to like double lock my door sometimes. And, and you were doing that with a workout, whereas I'm doing that and sitting in a corporate, meeting.
Yeah, no, it's fun. Some of the places, or we'd have, stopovers in between cities. We'd get on a bus for 12 hours, stop in a small city or town, or just off the highway, and then pick up at 5 a.m. and finish the drive. And in that night, when we'd stop it out, like we'd get into this off the highway hotel at 7, 8, 9, 10 p.m. And the only food that would be open would be like an Applebee's that we'd had to walk down the highway to get to.
Yeah.
Like we'd have to like walk on a highway to go get garbage food at 10 p.m. And, when you have a bunch of basically homosexuals walk into a Applebee's in Missouri at 10 p.m., you can imagine the staff was a little unsure of how to respond.
Yeah. You all needed the door dashes.
We needed the door dashes. We needed civilization, to be honest. But but I also had incredible memories from those nights out, and I was 21 and I was getting to travel and see, like, I haven't been to Hawaii since, but I went for New Year's with Cats and it was absolutely incredible. I've been to all 50 states between the two tours that I've done, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I got paid to do it. So like, I don't regret any second of the travel part of it, because I have seen a lot of the country I never would have been to otherwise.
Yeah. That's definitely a fun part of it is, I don't think you're putting Arkansas as a destination on your holiday travel, but you get to go see it and probably got to experience kind of a cool part of a town that has a lot of history and, closeness that otherwise you wouldn't go to.
And they were thrilled that a Broadway, I say that in quotations, a Broadway show came to their small town. Like it was packed full of people. And, the students from the university had all sorts of like journalism assignments with us and things like that. And the theater program there that, so like the smallest towns were the most excited audiences because they'd never got any other show ever. It was Cats that it would always come through. Because they had made it such a, what's a nice way of putting this, easy to travel version of the show. It could fit into almost, exactly. It could fit into almost any theater in the country. And we had contingencies for when, there was a no-fly system and the shoe wouldn't drop from the ceiling. It'd be thrown on from the side and things like that. So they'd make any theater work in the country. Like Will said with the when we were getting changed in a library, a children's library. But again, I was 21, so it was also like I was having a ball at the same time and not realizing. I guess the lesson of this whole thing is I didn't realize it could be better. Yeah, and I was happy.
Yeah, you're happy to be there. It is. Yeah, and let's be honest, the 20 chapter fan fiction. That's going to be written in one of those small towns. That's not being written in New York or Chicago. Like that is someone who saw it during your one night at a formidable age, and then that's all they've thought about since. And they wrote 30,000 words about it. Yeah, it's true. And I remember, and when we did play Ogdensburg, it was the dead of winter. It's like right on the border of Canada. We did not have self-service. There was nowhere to eat, but they had the Swings do a Q&A with some audience members after the show. And it was standing room only in this like small
convention center type room, and they had so many questions. And like, these are people who do not live far from New York City, right?
Yeah.
And it's like they live maybe a 4-hour drive from New York City, but they just either didn't have the means to get there or whatever it is, to be so close to the metropolis of theater and never experience, like so many people, this was their first theater experience, seeing Cats in Ogdensburg. It was like the first time they've ever gone to the theater. And I just find that, and I grew up in Buffalo, New York, so like I can't really talk to it because Buffalo is 6-7 hour drive. And the first time I went to New York City I was 17 years old when I lived in the same state my entire life. The first show I saw on Broadway was Ferdinand Peters and Gypsy. So it's funny to think of like, oh my God, I've lived in the same state as where Broadway is born. And my family just never, New York City was not on the radar, because we also lived close enough to Toronto where we'd just go up to Toronto and see anything. We saw Phantom there. We saw Les Mis there. My mom took her sister and my oldest brother to see Cats in Toronto while she was pregnant with my other brother. And in the beginning, when they do the green eyes out in the audience, my mom said she almost went into labor. She was so scared.
Yeah, I believe that. It's that jump scare got me when I saw it in 2016 in the revival. I was very grateful I was 2 seats in and not on the aisle, or I also might have gone into labor.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died.
I want to talk a little bit before we get into the rapid fire about your Instagram and how you come up with who you send to the Heaviside Layer on Photoshop, because they are hilarious. And you do make a good amount of like the Cats jokes when it's topical and makes sense. So is it just like it hits you and you make it, or how much like thought goes into these?
No thought. It hits me and I make it. Cats the musical, everybody on earth, whether they're a theater fan or not, knows what Cats is. And they know the general idea that it's a bunch of dancing cats and the old one gets blown through the roof at the end.
Yep.
And it just always hits people, whether they're theater fans or not, and they totally get what's going on. And it's usually someone that has given their life over to some sort of civil service and is being denied the next part of their life, like Biden or someone, where it's like the man has spent his whole life being a civil servant, and we collectively as a country were like, it's time for you to stop, so let's put you through the Heaviside Layer. So it's usually that. It'll be like, oh, well, Biden's at the DNC. It's his, kind of last speech he'll give at one of these kind of things. It's time. This is up, past the Rosa Hotel. Let's all thank him and say, the mystical divinity, we'll see you later, Biden. And then Prince, not Charles, but
Andrew, maybe?
I think I did one for it. Yeah, I did one. Yeah. Oh, no, Andrew, he needs to go somewhere else.
He's still alive,
Queen Elizabeth's husband, whatever his name was. And then I did one which did not go, which backfired because in 2016, I did one of Hillary like finally being guided to the White House. This was well before, it was like April of 2016 when we all thought that Hillary was going to win.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I made this you're going to do it. You finally got to the White House, and then she didn't. So, but yeah, the Cats memes, they speak to people. They speak to me. I mean, Cats is a part of my life. It's ingrained into my body from doing it. And it was also, when we were in rehearsals in New York, our music supervisor, Kristen Blodgett, who was a music supervisor of Phantom for 30 years, has done everything Andrew Lloyd Webber. She is the most wonderful angel of a woman. And the way she taught us to sing the Heaviside Layer, it was like the first time she had ever taught it, with the emotion she brought to it. And she was so good to me. And when I had like my private rehearsal with her to learn all my music, she asked me what was the first big show I saw, and it was Phantom of the Opera in Toronto. and she was the music supervisor of Phantom of the Opera. So that night, she brought me backstage to the Majestic to watch Hugh Pinero put on the Phantom makeup. And I was just losing my mind internally that I was backstage at the Majestic Theater in the Phantom of the Opera's dressing room, watching him put on his makeup by the woman who ended up doing the makeup for the Phantom the entire run of the show, all 35 years. It was the same woman. I wish I could remember her name. There was a big New York Times article on her when the show closed, but she was the same woman who started in 1988 all the way through when it closed last year. And
Wow.
that's how special Kristen Blodgett is that she took this like 21-year-old lanky, awkward idiot from Buffalo and said, oh yeah, come backstage at the Majestic and I'll show you the Phantom. You can meet him. And it was Hugh Pinero, and he was so gracious and so handsome. But yeah, I think I veered off of what your actual question was, but I had just thought of that. I thought it was worth sharing because she to this day, I mean, I have not really seen her too much. I'm friends with her daughter, Emma, but she's like a guardian angel in a way. You know, she pops up when you really need someone to give you a hug somewhere, and she's just there.
It's such a cool story because that's something that's probably so simple for her to do because of, her experience and her role and what she's been able to do, that to just, I can bring you backstage, especially in 2010. And it's such an important and meaningful thing that you're remembering that many years later. And it's like, that is what a really good person, like just a good human does, is like being able to have that moment and give you that experience that like she didn't have to by any means, but does. And just like, it's cool to hear those stories about people like Kristen Blodgett, because that's such a unique and simple thing for her to be able to do, but so meaningful.
And I could be getting this story wrong, but she told us how she got involved with Cats when it first premiered on Broadway. And before she became music supervisor and all that, she played in the Pit. And I think if I could be misremembering this, but it was, she had seen a preview of Cats and hated it. And then was on a bus and overheard someone next to her saying, we just lost a pianist in our pit for Cats. We need one. And she literally went, I'm a pianist. I loved Cats. and that's how she got.
I love
Cats.
it.
Yeah.
I hope that's true, because that's such a fun, that's such a cool way to get in of like, I want the job.
I want to say it is. I'll message her daughter, Emma, and see if that's something I'm just completely misremembering. But I want to say that happened, or something very similar happened to it. But that's how things used to happen a lot of the time. Like Ken Billington, the lighting designer, when he moved to New York at 19, he's in his late 70s now, and he's done every show ever. I worked with him on Waitress, but he lit the original Sweeney Todd by basically going to like Hal Prince's office and knocking on his door saying, I want to work on a show. What do you got for me? And like ended up being the lighting designer for Sweeney Todd.
It's such a different time, of where like you had that hustle and you separated back then by that, versus now it's like an AI is going to write the email to send to you to then, and like everyone can do it. So there's just such different versions. But I want to go to rapid fire, but before we go there, you said that you had a couple questions you wanted to ask me. And so I want to open that up besides the Heaviside Layer question, which I will save to the end.
Sure. My question is why this podcast? But I guess that has to do with your answer at the end, probably. But like, you have so many episodes.
Yeah.
You had Terrence Mann and all these people on it. I'm like, and you're a big sports fan, you say. So I'm like, where did Cats come into your life?
Yeah. So I think some people have heard this, and I'll give you a much more in-depth one off the podcast. I'll give you the full story. But the short version is that I saw the 2016 revival as a preview. I had never seen Cats before. I had seen some theater, but I had just moved to New York for work. So I was living in temporary housing. Like that's how corporate put me in temporary housing in the theater district. And so I knew about 5 people that lived in the city at the time. And so I was like, what should I do? I wanted to experience New York being from Indiana. So I went, and a friend got me Cats tickets because the revival was just opening. And at that point, you said you saw Phantom. I didn't see Phantom until like the last month of its run here on Broadway. Never seen any production. Never saw Les Mis. Never saw all these, like, you know, what a theater person would know. I had seen Book of Mormon and Jersey Boys, essentially. You know, like a couple very basic things. So I was like, let me go. I'm here at the pinnacle, you know, like at Broadway, and I'm living down the street, so I can finish work, go to the show, and then walk a block home. Like, how am I not doing this? And I went to Cats, and I did not know what I watched. And I'd done a lot of writing. So I was a writer and did humor writing and tried to process the story and could not in one view really understand everything. And so I kind of poked fun at it in a story. And, but in a way of where I'm like, also at the same time, that cast had so much talent from dancing, which I don't know anything about. But I was pretty close to the stage. I'm like, how do these people do this? Like, physically, they don't get any breaks. It's unreal what they're doing. But I kind of made a joke, and then I kind of left it for a while. And then it was the 2019 trailer for that movie came out. And it was that day I had made a joke that said, Grisabel's the wrong vocal choice. The movie's going to set the record straight. Welcome to my TED Talk. And I had this I was giving a work presentation, but I'm on stage and it looks like I'm giving a TED Talk. And I posted that, and the people at the Broadway Podcast Network, which is a friend of mine, asked me to turn it into a miniseries. And so we did that, and I knew nothing. I was literally, if you listen to those first episodes where they're characters, like me trying to explain the characters as a novice, I was watching YouTube clips and reading the fan fiction and what I could find online as I went. Like, I didn't know. I couldn't have told you the character. Like the 9th episode, or once I got to Mistopheles, I couldn't have told you anything about Mistopheles until I got to that episode. And so it was kind of this like very strange, weird, what's this outsider's perspective of the show that so many people know for 40 years. And so it kind of got a little bit of buzz because of that, because it was just very much if you have a very knows nothing person looking at something that so many people know, what's the interpretation? And I was doing it all, which I learned later. It was just a 1998 movie on YouTube. Like, it was just the VHS clipped on YouTube. And then about halfway through those first 10 episodes, I did an episode with someone who was on tour as like a Q&A. And I knew, like, her name was Maria. And I still to this day don't think I asked her any proper question. Like, it was just like, I couldn't formulate the questions because I didn't know what I was talking about at the time. And then it was Christopher Gurr, who was the Gus. Someone put me in touch with him, and he came into the studio. We had a studio at the time, and we recorded my Q&A for my Gus episode. And that was kind of the first time where he like explained some things to me. And I was like, I got to just start asking more questions. Like, why am I trying to interpret this myself? And it just snowballed from there. And so it went from I knew nothing, like literally nothing, to now I probably, besides people who have done it and worked on it, and then there's definitely some super fans, I would argue that I know more about the plot, backstories, and characters than almost anybody. But I still couldn't tell you the first thing about the dance numbers, the songs, like any of the musical theater part of this. But it's been really fun for me because I get to hear hilarious stories. People doing it, but I meet the super fans and they're like, well, have you talked to this person? And if they were anything prior to 2016, I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, sure, were they in Cats? And they're like, they were the original Demeter. And I'm like, great. Yeah. Like, I don't know anything about that.
That's brilliant. I love that so much. And it's a short, quick story. But getting this tour out of college to my friends who are like civilians like yourself that do not work in the theater industry and don't know anything about Cats, they were so excited for me. They thought, I say this in heavy quotations, that I had made it, right?
Yeah.
And they all came. I played Syracuse, and I've got a lot of friends in Rochester and Buffalo, so they all drove to Syracuse and saw the show. And afterwards, it's sort of like, oh my gosh, you did it! You were incredible. What the fuck is this show about? What is going on? And they were like, it was like, I wish it was like Wicked or something I did, so that they at least could follow the story, and like, or Les Mis or anything, but it was Cats. And like my friend Jamie, she was like, I want to try and explain the plot back to you. And she's like, the best I can explain it is there's a cat who owns a bunch of cats and says, "This is my cat. This is my other cat. She likes to tap dance. This is my oldest cat. This is my big fat cat. And this one's going to die." And I was like, actually, that's the plot. Yeah, you're right.
Pretty close. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, just don't try to follow plot. Just watch the dancing and singing, and then don't worry about the rest. Just enjoy it.
Yeah. Or get stoned beforehand.
Yeah. Get stoned or drink, and don't grab Tugger, but enjoy the show and have fun with it. All right, let's do some rapid fire. So if you could go on for one night, any cat, whether you could do it male, female, doesn't matter. Who would you want to perform as?
Oh, Grisabella, for sure.
Get your 15 minutes on stage, go up, bell.
Yes, that for sure. Her or no, Grisabella. She's my answer. That's my first. I'm not going to second guess myself. I'd love to go on as her. Yeah.
Favorite and least favorite cat, personality wise. So like, who would you want to hang out with, and who would you not want to hang out with?
Munkus Trap is my favorite cat, personality wise. He to me is like the most handsome cat, if that sounds insane, but also the most responsible and the most giving and the most caring and proper and has manners and all the, like, he's a gentleman cat, really.
Yeah.
So Munkus Trap's my favorite. My least favorite is probably any of the kittens. So Pouncival, Mistopheles. Oh, no, wait, no. My least favorite is Alonzo. What Alonzo. A dud.
Okay.
Yeah. He is just like a wannabe Munkus Trap. You know, he's got one line, and "Are you cock of the walk?" I think was his line. And I just am like, what a useless character. What a knockoff Munkus Trap we've got here. We don't even really need him.
Did your Alonzo do the lift with Victoria though?
Yeah, he did. So I guess we need him for that lift. But in terms of like the personality, like it's a kind of a personality-less act in a way.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Favorite song from the show?
I love when, I don't know what it's called. Maybe it's after Grisabella's first cross in Act 1. So I think it's right after Rum Tum Tugger. She comes in and just does a cross, and then Bombalurina and Demeter sing this really sweet short duet called, I think it's called Grisabella the Glamour Cat.
Yeah.
It's just the two of them. And it's kind of haunting and mysterious, and I love the lyrics of it. It starts like, "Remark the cat who hesitates before you," all that kind of stuff. It feels like the most poetic song of all the T.S. Eliot lyrics.
Yeah,
right? It feels the most like a poem. So that's the one. Yeah. That's my answer, I think.
This will be a fun one. I think this might be the second week in a row I'm asking this, but you've done some political memes. This will come out after the election, so we'll be probably in chaos either way of whatever happens in the U.S. But which cat do you think would be the best politician?
God, it's still Munkus Trap. He in terms of being a true civil servant, you know, true for the people, will be Munkus Trap. Now, the best sort of like greasy, oily politician type person, if it was like a Ted Cruz, sort of, you know, who became a politician for all the wrong reasons, I would say that would be, I feel like Busterford Jones is kind of like hoity-toity, and I'm better than you. I take all the finest caviar. I take all the good stuff for me. So I would say Busterford Jones would be that kind of like Texas oil politician.
I think Busterford's running the pack. Like, he's paying for all the stuff behind the scenes that he needs to have happen. But no, I agree. I think Monk's probably the right answer. I do think there'd be some fun, like, this would be an interesting up and coming like version of it. Like, Skimbleshanks would be kind of an interesting one to be a politician.
Yeah, totally.
There's a lot of ways to go with that. Okay, most important question. I've argued that I don't think Grisabella is the right Jolko choice. So I want to know, how are you voting and why?
I would vote for Gus. And I'm sure that's probably a popular answer.
It's the number 2 vote behind Grisabella.
And I think it's sort of like he's the Joe Biden in a way. He He has had this remarkable career for way too many decades, is kind, is dying because he has the shit. Like we directed, because I understudied him to have, and it's in the lyrics, his paw shakes, right? It's like he's got some sort of
he's got palsy.
Disease. He's got palsy, yeah. And so I would say Gus is also hoping and willing and wanting to move on. So that's my answer is Gus. I think he deserved a new life more so than Grizabella. I totally get why Grizabella was chosen though, because it's kind of the Mary Magdalene of it all. The outcast, and probably treated wrongly for just being a bit of a diva or whatever her prime, whenever she was in her prime. So I totally get why it was her, but I only went on for Gus once, and it was truly a gorgeous time. Like I loved playing Gus, and I feel the most sympathy and empathy for Gus.
That is no arguments here. I agree. I think it's the correct answer if you think about the story the way that I do. And so we're just gonna leave it at that.
Great.
How can people stay in touch with you on social media and all the things? I know you're working on a couple projects. Yeah,
you can look me up on Instagram. That's really the only thing I'm active on. Is at Kevin J Zak, ZAK, and that's where I post a lot of memes and stuff I made, and truly it has a great following, and it only started because I was trying to make myself laugh. So I'm glad that other people found it funny too. So, and you can always, if I'm doing something, I sometimes post what I'm doing on there. So feel free to check it out.
Yeah, well, we'll link it to follow. I know there's obviously cool things you're doing in the city, and so post those with the memes so people can follow along on all the fun parts of your career too.
Thanks, I will. Thank you.
Well, this has been so fun. Thanks for coming on and sharing a little bit of your trauma, but also just the fun stories that came with getting to do this at such a young age and such a unique experience.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any else's podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and if you still use it, Threads at The Wrong Cat Died, or check out our website, thewrongcatdied.com.